Under the previous Conservative government, Canada saw 4 major pipelines built without a single cent of taxpayers' money, including one to Tidewater. Unfortunately, the Trudeau Liberals have done everything possible to get in the way of progress. Despite Liberal after Liberal approval, not a single inch of new pipeline has been laid on this project, and not a single ounce of dirt has been moved. These delays have cost Canadians billions in economic activity. Today's cabinet decision gets us really no closer to having this vital job-creating project than we were when it was first approved 2.5 years ago. We all know what Justin Trudeau's real thoughts about Canada's oil and gas sector and Canada's oil and gas workers really are. Justin Trudeau said he wants to, quote, phase out Canada's oil and gas sector, and he smeared our workers in that industry. For once, for Trudeau, this is all going according to plan. Nous savons tous ce que Justin Trudeau pense réellement du secteur du pétrole et du gaz au Canada, ainsi que des ouvriers. Il veut éliminer le secteur du pétrole et du gaz au Canada. Et il attaque la réputation des ouvriers de la construction. En réalité, tout se déroule comme il le souhaite. But this election campaign, Canadian voters will be presented with a different choice. A different choice that will get pipelines built and deliver real economic benefit to our entire country. Canada's Conservatives will cancel the Trudeau carbon tax. We will repeal the No More Pipelines Bill C-69 and the oil export ban Bill C-48. Les conservateurs du Canada vont annuler le taxe sur le carbone de Trudeau. Nous allons annuler le projet de loi anti-pipeline C-69 et le projet de loi C-48 contre l'exploitation de notre pétrole. We will establish clear timelines for approvals, eliminate foreign interference in the approvals process, and invoke federal jurisdiction when it is in the national interest. Conservatives have gotten pipelines built in the past, and we will do it again. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Colleagues, I have my question list open. The première question, c'est Mathieu Goyer de Radio-Canada.
Bonjour, M. Scheer. Qu'est-ce que vous auriez fait de différent dans ce dossier précis-là, compte tenu du fait que la Cour d'appel fédérale avait renvoyé le gouvernement fédéral à la table de la descente? Qu'est-ce que le gouvernement Trudeau aurait pu faire de plus?
Mais en réalité, le gouvernement actuel a eu des différents choix. Particulièrement, il a l'opportunité de proposer un amendement à la loi pour assurer que l'analyse de Transport Canada peut être utilisée par le NAB. Il a fait un autre choix, il a refait le processus entier, et ça c'est la chose qui a causé une grande partie de la délai. Aussi, on a demandé au gouvernement d'envoyer toutes les questions juridiques à la Cour suprême pour déterminer la finalité sur toutes les questions entre les différents champs de compétences et les différents aspects de la loi. Il a décidé de ne pas faire les deux choses que nous avons suggérées.
Tantôt, M. Trudeau a dit clairement que la question des grands projets énergétiques et de l'environnement serait la question de l'urne lors de la prochaine élection. Qu'est-ce que vous répondez à ça? Qu'est-ce que vous allez faire, vous, pour faire valoir sur ce terrain-là?
Mais si Justin Trudeau veut lutter la prochaine élection sur la question de quel parti peut construire les pipelines au même temps de gérer notre environnement, j'ai hâte à cette choix, parce que c'est clair que c'est le Parti conservateur qui a un bilan d'excellence sur les deux questions. On a eu une situation où il y a 4 grands projets de pipeline construits sous notre gouvernement, et en même temps, on a implémenté les vraies mesures de baisser les émissions. Et comme je vais annoncer demain, on va avoir beaucoup de dire sur cette question. Mais le bilan de Justin Trudeau, il a annulé 2 pipelines, et maintenant, il a annoncé une approbation sans plan d'actuellement avoir la construction finie.
Cochrane, CBC.
Mr. Scheer, you're being highly critical of the Prime Minister here today, even though this decision, he's going to take a beating with a lot of progressive voters who helped elect him in the last election, primarily to boost an economy in a part of the country that he has no hopes of making any kind of real gains. Why do you continue to doubt his sincerity on getting this project done? It seems like you can't take yes for an answer.
Well, I doubt his sincerity because he hasn't actually done anything. Show me the pipeline. Where is it? He announced last year that it would be operating this year, and it's not. I don't believe he actually wants it built. He doesn't support our energy sector. I take him at his word when he travels around the world and talks about phasing out Canada's energy sector. Today's announcement, it doesn't get us any closer. He redid an entire process, spent a year redoing things that he could have handled in a much different way. And there's never any doubt that today's announcement isn't news. We all knew he was going to approve it. What Canadians were hoping for today was a clear timeline for construction to start, and he failed to be able to tell Canadians on what date construction would actually start. So today's announcement doesn't do anything for those Canadians who recognize the benefits of our energy sector, not just to Western Canada, but to people all throughout Canada who benefit from the richness and the prosperity that our natural resource sector brings to all Canadians.
The government has said that whatever profits, once this is built, if this is built, they'll funnel it into a clean energy transition. Is that a wise use of that money by the federal government?
Well, when we have a government track record that sends millions of dollars to multi-billion-dollar corporations, I look at that and I worry that that's just going to mean bigger checks to companies like Loblaws. We know that they love handing out big checks to their rich friends and picking winners and losers. I don't think Canadians are going to look at that and think that that's a wise use of their tax dollars.
Mélanie Marquis, La Presse.
Oui, Monsieur Scheer, un peu pour suivre la question de mon collègue David, l'idée donc de mettre dans un fonds pour les énergies propres des profits qui sont accumulés, qui sont générés par le pipeline, vous en pensez quoi? Est-ce que c'est quelque chose que vous vous engagez, vous, à poursuivre si vous êtes élu au mois d'octobre?
On va annoncer notre propre plan demain qui va parler de la façon qu'on peut assurer que le développement de technologies peut continuer ici au Canada. Mais le bilan de Justin Trudeau ne donne pas beaucoup de confiance à moi ni les contribuables. Quand il a choisi de dépenser l'argent des contribuables aux les grandes corporations comme Loblaws pour subsidier leurs opérations, ce n'est pas un bien utile de l'argent des contribuables.
Oui, mais si vous êtes élu au mois d'octobre, vous allez devenir, le gouvernement est propriétaire du pipeline. Qu'est-ce que vous allez faire, vous, les conservateurs, avec l'argent que va générer ce projet-là?
Mais notre premier but, c'est d'actuellement construire le pipeline. Vous parlez dans une situation où il y a une possibilité sur le gouvernement libéral de compléter ce projet. J'ai aucune confiance que si Justin Trudeau sera réélu cet octobre, je suis sûr que ça c'est la fin de le projet Trans Mountain. Il va trouver une excuse pour annuler, pour bloquer ce projet. Comme j'ai dit, nous allons avoir notre propre plan pour assister au développement de technologies, mais il ne va pas être basé sur les grands subsides, les grands chèques de l'argent des contribuables ou les compagnies privées pour subsidier leurs opérations.
Peter, the Hill Times.
What will you do with this pipeline, whatever stage it is in, if you win in the fall and your government inherits it?
Our primary goal would be to restore investor confidence in Canada, to stop the Liberal practice of moving the goalposts side to side and back and forth, and establish clear timelines with a clear approvals process that will send the signal to the world that big projects can get built again in this country. And at that point, our goal would be to sell it back to the private sector at the best possible price that we can get for taxpayers.
Do you think more pipelines beyond this one will be needed to satisfy the desire to export beyond the United States?
Well, it's clear that global demand for oil and gas is increasing, and it's also clear that Canada can play a fantastic role in supplying the world with much more responsible energy. We know that India and other countries in Asia would like to buy their oil from us, but we can't get it to them at this point because Justin Trudeau killed projects like Northern Gateway, which opened up Asian markets with a deep water port. We have situations where we believe that Canada needs more Canadian oil and that Canadians would prefer to purchase their oil and gas from Canadian companies, but Justin Trudeau canceled the west to east pipeline that would have displaced foreign oil. So it's quite clear that there isn't just a need for more pipelines to fill global markets, but we need to be able to be independent when it comes to energy. And that's part of my vision for this country, to become energy independent by displacing foreign oil coming into eastern markets with Canadian energy.
Bruce Campion-Smith, the Toronto Star.
Good afternoon, Mr. Scheer. Thanks, Justin. Just wondering, I mean, it's clear that Trans Mountain has faced a lot of opposition, you know, but from Indigenous groups, some Indigenous groups, as well as in BC. You know, how would a Conservative government sort of help diffuse that and then, you know, try and build sort of a consensus around this project?
Well, we look at the successive Supreme Court and other court rulings about what the duty to consult looks like. And we take that very seriously. And we highlighted the failure of the Liberal government to get the Indigenous consultations done properly when it comes to Trans Mountain. It has to be more than just someone showing up with a notebook and ticking a box. It has to be a dynamic consultation that actually addresses the concerns of Indigenous communities and takes those into account. The key here is to establish an approvals process that people can have confidence in, that people know that they have a right to appear before and share their concerns. But at the end of the day, if those very high standards are met by project proponents, the project has to be able to proceed. We don't live in a country where any one person or any one group has a veto. We have an obligation to do consultations properly, and as a government, we will continue to find avenues to ensure that Indigenous communities benefit from these projects, like the dozens and dozens of Indigenous communities who signed agreements and benefit agreements with both Trans Mountain and Northern Gateway. So there's a role to be played there for sure. And at the end of the day, I believe that if you have that transparent and robust approvals process, there may be some people at the end of the day don't support it, but at least they can have confidence that they had their voice heard.
So it's fair to assume that perhaps a reformed environmental assessment process, I mean, you talked about throwing out kind of the bills now making their way through the Senate.
Sorry, can you just...
Would a reformed environmental process be part of what you're going to put on the table for your platform?
Well, we're currently really, I mean, because Bill C-69 has not come into force, there really hasn't been legislative changes to the approvals process up until this point. The Liberals unilaterally imposed the upstream and downstream emissions test on Energy East, which effectively killed that project and prevented our ability to get Western Canadian oil into Eastern Canadian markets, a standard that is not applied on any other industry in Canada. What we're talking about, and I've announced an action plan to get pipelines built in this country that includes very clear timelines. It includes ensuring that federal jurisdiction is upheld, fast-tracking all jurisdictional questions and legal questions around it so we can get certainty once and for all. In addition, I've also announced working towards a national energy corridor, which can get all of these assessments done out of the way early and create a path of certainty that private sector proponents can then come in knowing that those questions have been settled, and they can use investors' dollars, not taxpayers' dollars, to get these big projects built, whether it's hydroelectricity coming from Quebec or supporting our oil and gas sector.
Mr.
I have a
Scheer.
question, Mr. Scheer.
It's Tom Korski of the Blackwood.
On the finances, 4 times last year, Commons committees rejected Conservative and Democrat motions to have hearings on the cost. Are there cost-plus contracts with subcontractors? We don't know. Is the Crown Corporation that owns the pipeline budgeted for what it acknowledges are risks? We don't know. You have 1 hour with Mr. Sohi in the Natural Resources Committee on Friday on a Conservative motion. 1 hour on about $14 billion. Can you comment on that?
Mm-hmm. Well, accountability has not been anything that this government has been known for. And you're absolutely right to point out the fact that they have shrouded this entire deal in a great deal of secrecy. The unknown costs and the unknown risks that Canadian taxpayers are on the hook for are causing a lot of people anxiety, and it does not give any kind of assurances to taxpayers to know that they got a good deal on this or that they got a fair deal. I think it's shameful that they have not been more transparent for this. They just went out and bought a $4.5 billion, decades-old pipeline without a path to expand it, and they're asking Canadians to take them at their word that we as taxpayers got a good deal. I'm not buying that. It's also shameful that they are not making themselves available to Parliament. And I should take this opportunity to note, they are starving the Auditor General of much needed funds for him to conduct these types of reviews, both in many different areas. So it's a pattern of behavior. It's a pattern of a cloak of secrecy around big decisions that cost taxpayers a lot of money.
So my only follow-up is, would you commit any future Conservative government to, if not releasing the contract, having extremely fulsome parliamentary hearings, come one, come all, full disclosure of cost, so the public knows exactly what they're in for?
Well, first of all, I would say that it's not my intention to ever have to purchase things from the private sector to get them built.
But you own this
but,
one.
But with that being said, I do think that taxpayers have a right to know. The principle of responsible government is that you, as the taxpayer, have a right to know where it's being spent and under what parameters. We've seen this government hide behind cabinet confidences before and invent excuses not to release information. Access to information requests are taking longer and longer, with some very important information being held till after the election. I would certainly commit to lifting back that cloak of secrecy around this deal and ensuring that Canadians can really see what it was that the Trudeau Liberals committed their taxpayers' dollars to.
Mr. Scheer, thank you very much for using the National Press Theatre.
Thank you very much.